In today's episode, the United Nations Assistance Mission to Rwanda removes the majority of its contingents, leaving only 250 troops to face mass killings going on in broad daylight. On the same day, mass killings take place in Butare town, including the University Hospital of Butare, Prefecture Headquarters, and the National University of Rwanda, where Hutu lecturers and students helped killers to identify their Tutsi counterparts. April 21st, 1994. The massacres perpetrated against the Tutsis in the former Gikongoro, Butare, and Gitarama prefectures. On April 21st, 1994, the UN Security Council adopted a Resolution 912 amending the UNAMIR mandate and leaving it with only 250 troops. However, General Dallaire, who led the UNAMIR, sent a daily report to the United Nations on the killings of Tutsis in Rwanda. He claimed that the Habyarimana Guards and Interahamwe militia had become like a virus, quickly spreading. The UN, which did not value the information from Dallaire, decided to abandon Rwanda, and the killings continued in broad daylight. When the genocide started in Murambi area, local Tutsis and others in Mudasomwa, Kinyamakara, Musebeya, Muko, and other communes began to seek refuge at Murambi. Their authorities told those who fled to Murambi that they would keep them safe while they are together. It was a lie, since the interim president Sindikubwabo Theodore and his prime minister Jean Kambanda had visited Gikongoro and instructed residents to start the killings. After this meeting, local authorities encouraged the Tutsis to flee to Murambi, lying to them that they would be kept safe. Refugees at various communal and church offices and those their Hutu neighbors had hidden were taken to Murambi by cars or brought by others. Everywhere they passed on their way to Murambi, Interahamwe stoned them. When they arrived in Murambi, Interahamwe immediately cut off all water pipes supplying Murambi to get them weakened by thirst before they would kill them. Tutsi refugees decided to slaughter their cows after realizing that they were starving to death. In the following days, Interahamwe would attack them and they fought back with stones, and Interahamwe would go back. In the dawn of April 20th towards 21st, 1994, around 3 a.m., the gendarmes started firing grenades and shooting at the Tutsi refugees. Interahamwe, CDR supporters, and civilians carrying clubs, machetes, spears, and axes started to finish off those whom guns had not killed and the wounded. Those who participated in the killings of more than 50,000 Tutsis who had taken refuge at the Murambi were the former prefect of Gikongoro Prefecture, Bukibaruta Laurent, lives in France. Semakwavu Felicien, the former burgomaster of Nyamagabe commune. Captain Faustin Sebuhura, who led the Gikongoro Gendarmerie. Colonel Simba Alois. Justin Ayurugari, who was in charge of Electrogas Gikongoro. Venus Nyombaire, who headed the SOS Gikongoro Children's Center. David Karangwa, the registrar in Gikongoro Court. Sales Semigabo, the prosecutor in Gikongoro. Alphonse Sengumuchiza worked in Electrogas. Gendarme and Interahamwe, including Musekura Alois, Njiruma Sevenust, and others. Murambi was also the French military campsite in the Zone Turquoise, where they had come supposedly to protect Tutsis. That did not happen because a few Tutsis who had survived went to Murambi but were kidnapped and killed by Interahamwe, and the French soldiers did nothing to save them. Some French soldiers raped Tutsi girls and women and committed various other crimes, according to a report by the Mucho Commission. At the end of their mission, the French asked people in the Murambi camp to cross over to Congo, assured that they would help them to return to Rwanda. Interahamwe escorted them to Congo with many other refugees because rumors had it that Inkotanyi were killing those left behind. The real reason was that they took them as hostages to use them as human shield once in the Congolese jungles. Murambi Genocide Memorial is home to more than 50,000 victims of the genocide killed in the area and those exhumed from the Gasaka Memorial. The Cyanika Parish in Nyamagabe has a unique history even in the previous massacres of Tutsis because in 1963 a mass massacre took away the lives of many Tutsis who lived there. The international media and various reports highlighted that it was a genocide. The survivors named it a bloody Christmas. From 1990 to 1994, Tutsis who lived in Cyanika were again persecuted under the leadership of Burgomaster of Karama Commune, Desire Ngezahayo. They were taunted because they were called the accomplices of Inkotanyi, as it had happened in 1963 by calling them accomplices of the cockroaches, Inyenzi, and imprisoning others. On April 8, 1994, Tutsi refugees from Karama, Kinyamakara, Nyamagabe, Rukondo, Karambo, and other communes were gathered at the parish and were welcomed by Father Joseph Nyomugabo. Many fled because Burgomaster Ngezahayo and the councillor toured the entire commune using loudspeakers, demanding that those hiding come to Cyanika Parish, promising to protect them. On April 11, 1994, the Sous-Prefect of Karaba, Joseph Ntongwe, held a meeting with the Burgomaster of Rukondo, Karama, and Kinyamakara communes to polish their plans to kill the Tutsis. There was also a terrorist group called Minuar, commanded by Ntaganira Emmanuel, alias Muturage, and Rubera. They had received arms from Colonel Simba and handed them over to his teams and other killers. The group was in charge of killing Tutsis and lending a hand to fellow killers where the killings had been slow. Many of them used grenades, especially the infamous Interahamwe members in the area like Kazungu. In the dawn of April 20th to 21st, the militia killed Tutsis who had taken refuge at Murambi. The killers then headed to Cyanika on April 21st, 1994 at around 10 a.m. to kill Tutsi refugees at the parish. More than 35,000 Tutsis perished. They are buried at Cyanika Genocide Memorial. Those who participated in the planning and killing of Tutsis who had taken refuge at Cyanika Catholic Parish were led by former prefect of Gikongoro, Ruhango Kibaruta, Colonel Simba Aloys, Sous-Prefect Joseph Ntongwe, Burgomaster Ngezahayo Desire, MP Mark Hanyurimfura, Munyandinda Joel, Inspector of Primary School of Rukondo Commune, Nkurikiyimana Jean Bosco, Director of Cyanika Health Center, Charles Ugirindege, Deputy Burgomaster of Rukondo, his brother-in-law, Sebakiga Jean Bosco, also called Kinigamazi, Veterinary of Karama Commune, Munyaneza Jean Bosco, Makaniye Fodouar, former youth mobilizer of Karama Commune, Jean-Baptiste Kayigamba, who worked at the Cyanika Health Center, Gahamanyi Calixte, a businessman, councillors including Munyankindi Calixte, Bashimubwabo Jean-Baptiste, Murinda Babisha, Hishamunda Charles, youth mobilizer in Gikongoro, Gatari Jean Damascene, agronomist, Gashara Alphonse, a teacher in Mbazi, Nzungize Azaria, a secretary in Karaba Sous-Prefecture, Karekezi Kizito, a student at the university and a player of Mukura, Mageza Onesphore, a police officer from Rukondo, Habimana and Munyaneza Cyprien, and some cell and sector leaders of Cyanika, Kibingo, Gitega, Ngoma, Muganza, Kiraro, Kiyumba, and Nyanzoga. Interahamwe who took part in the killings in the Tutsis of Cyanika were Demokarasi Joseph Elias Rubera, Urinzwenimana Etienne Elias Kazungu, Ntaganira Emmanuel Elias Muturage, Nkuriza Anastase Kabera Vianney and his elder brother Gasurira, Nizeyimana Tanaz Elias Musebeya, Musoni Anselme, Mugambira Apollinaire, Bizimana alias Munyu, Karamira Maurice, Kayihura Joseph, Mugenga Joseph, Mubirigi Zakari, Rwamakuza Syriac, Rudahanwa Telesphore, Bukeye Alphonse, Mutajugire François alias Rupijama, Miyeri, Nambaje Alphonse, Aloys Sekaganda, son of Ntwarabashi, Rutebuka Martin, Rwagasana Venant, Bizimana alias Nderema, Mohaya son of Mishogoro, Dominique son of Usizori, Rukaramariko, Senyana son of Butuyu, and others. Massacres of Tutsis at Kaduha Catholic Parish, Nyamagabe. Kaduha Parish is in the former Karambo Commune, Kaduha Sous-Prefecture of Gikongoro Prefecture. Tutsis who had taken refuge there came from Muko, Musanje, Karambo, and Musebeya communes. They started to arrive on April 8, 1994. On April 17, 1994, a gendarme took away their traditional weapons, claiming they were already protected. Before that date, refugees shared what they had brought from their homes, and a German sister Milgita, who led the health center, prepared the porridge for children. The priests had sufficient rice, but starved refugees because there was a Burundian priest Nyandwi Robert Athanase, who was among the organizers of the killing plot. On April 20th, 1994, the priest asked them to buy rice at 5 Rwandan francs per kilo. He knew that they were going to be killed shortly. They used the money they had remained with to buy the rice. On April 21st, 1994, An extensive attack of gendarmes, reservists, and Interahamwe with various weapons from Muko, Karambo, Musanje, and Msebeya communes came. They first surrounded them, and they killed around 45,000 Tutsis who had sought refuge at Kaduha Parish. Only few of them survived. The killings were motivated and led by intellectuals. These included Father Nyandwi Robert, Sous-Prefet Joachim Hategekimana, PDAG project staff called Katasi, Njezahayo Sraton, a former soldier, Karangwa Francois, a court staff, reservist named Gervais, Albert, burgomaster of Muko commune, Interahamwe called Rukokoma, Nhawera, Matawaro, along with other Interahamwe, as well as students from Ruhengeri who had taken refuge there due to the war. All of them were led by gendarmes from Gikongoro on April 8, 1994, under Colonel Simba Alois as their commander. The latter oversaw the so-called civil defense in Gikongoro and Butare prefectures. The death toll at Kaduha eventually rose to 47,311. Survivors in the area continued to be killed as Kaduha was in a French-controlled area, Zone Turquoise, and that prevented the RPF Inkotanyi from serving them in due time. Massacres of Tutsis at various places in Ntongwe commune, Ruhango. At Ntongwe Mountain, from April 18th to 20th, 1994, some Tutsis went to the hills and tried to defend themselves. Some of the hills include Nyiranduga, a large gathering of Tutsis from Gisari, Kibanda, Mbuye, Mukinga, in the former Mujinga commune, spent 4 days fighting the attacks and defeated them. Afterwards, the former burgomaster of Ntongwe commune, Kagabo Charles, and the sous-prefet of Ruhango, Placide Koroni, and the gendarme told Tutsis to go to their commune supposedly for protection. The move was to enable the killers to find all of them in one place. Another hill from which Tutsis tried to resist Interahamwe attacks was at the Gachuru Nyakabungo hill. But when there, Burgomaster Kagabo removed them, promising them protection at the commune, and encouraged them to go there. It was on April 19, 1994. Ntungamo ya Kayenzi in Nyabitare is also another hill on which Tutsis tried to fight back against Interahamwe. They used spears, bows and arrows, and especially stones. Strong Interahamwe attacks came from Nyakabungo and Ntongwe sector, spreading them apart and causing them to flee to Tamge and Ruhango. At the same time, those who stayed behind were killed. Tutsis started to flee to Ntongwe commune office on April 10, 1994. Because Hutus had begun to burn their houses, kill them, and slaughter their cows, on several hills, Tutsi refugees grouped themselves to defend themselves against Interahamwe. The former burgomaster Kagabo Charles and the sous-prefet Placide Koroni, through sectoral councillors, sent them to the commune office, lying to them that the place was safe. The last Tutsis arrived at the commune on April 19th and 20th, 1994. Even those hiding elsewhere joined. From April 17th to 19th, 1994, Tutsis who had taken refuge at the commune first defended themselves with stones, repelling the attacks until April 20th, 1994. As the authorities gathered Tutsis at Ntongwe commune, they also alerted the killers, Interahamwe from Bugesera, Burundians from Nyagahama camp, people and gendarmes from Nyanza. They all gathered at Ntongwe commune at night on April 20th, 1994 to April 21st, 1994, attacked the Tutsi refugees and slaughtered them. A meeting led by a gendarme in Mutima between April 17th and 19th, 1994 and attended by authorities including Burgomestre Kagabo and Burundian refugees planned the attack. The attackers crossed Gako instead of Nyakabungo so that the Tutsis could not hear the noise of the cars and flee. When they reached Mitima, they stopped their vehicles and walked by foot under Kagabo's command. On the night of April 20th to 21st, 1994, all attackers met at the commune. Soldiers and police officers shot and threw grenades amidst the crowds. Those who tried to escape were finished off by militia with machetes and other traditional weapons. The killing was very systematic and well planned due to the above-mentioned Mitima meeting. The massacres of Tutsis in the valley of Nyamakumba, Ruhango, that took place on 21st April 1994. Nyamakumba is at 2 kilometers from the Ntongwe commune office on the way to Ruhango. It is a place where there is a vast valley. The site was named the Apocalypse of Tutsis due to many Tutsis who were killed after they had escaped the grenades, bullets and machetes from the commune office attacks. Government soldiers installed guns on the hills around Nyamakumba. wherever you'd flee to, they would be watching you because it is a big valley surrounded by hills. Those who escaped from the commune turned to that valley as other escape ways were closed. Interahamwe from Bugesera, soldiers and gendarmes fired at them and turned them into Nyamakumba Valley. The militia groups at Kinazi and Nyagahama also included Burundians. When they all arrived at Nyamakumba, soldiers and militia in the mountains who were ready to shoot fired their guns at once. Interahamwe with machetes, clubs and spears finished off the survivors of gunshots. There was a lot of crying and a lot of people died. The place was named Imheruka ya Nyamakumba, literally meaning the apocalypse of Nyamakumba. Massacres of Tutsis at Rutabo, CND Ruhango. The so-called CND pit was excavated in 1992 and located behind the primary school of Rutabo A. Many Tutsis were killed and dumped in the pit. Even those killed elsewhere were brought there. The place borrowed its name from CND in Kigali, where the RPF forces who had come to protect the RPF leaders lived. In other words, according to the criminal reasoning of the genocidaires, killing Tutsis at the pit equaled sending them to meet their brothers at CND in Kigali. The attack on that pit was led by Nsabimana Jacques, who led CDR in Ntongwe, known as Pilot, because anyone who was going to be killed at the CND pit was first tortured by him. Some of the most prominent names in the massacres were Kagabo Charles, who was the burgomestre of Ntongwe commune, Placide Koroni, who was the sous-prefet of Ruhango sous-prefecture, councillors who governed all 13 sectors of Ntongwe commune, soldiers like Hitabatuma, Rucheragabiro of Nyabusinzu at Kamugunga, Vincent from Birara, Vianney also from Nyabusinzu, a citizen named Ninhanguranwa who burned a baby on the charcoal stove at Gishari of Kareba councillor Kanyande Kwezefani, and Kajeruka, a teacher, Nsabimana Jacques nicknamed Pilot, a businessman called Simon Munyenhama and his elder brother from Kareba, Nahayo Floha, and unknown Burundians who lived in Nyagahama camp, the latter grilled and ate hearts of killed Tutsis. Massacres of Tutsis at Karama Catholic Church, Runyinya, Huye. On April 8, 1994, Tutsi refugees started arriving at Karama. They came from Ramba and Gikongoro Prefecture to Karama Parish. They arrived exhausted, hungry, traumatized, and some of them seriously injured. On April 10, 1994, Hategekimana Deogracias, the former burgomestre of Runyinya, invited all Hutu councillors and cell leaders, all Hutu dignitaries, the director of a barrack secondary school and businessman to the genocide preparation meeting. By the time the meeting was ongoing, the militia had erected 2 roadblocks, one at the commune courtyard and the other at the center where police controlled them. Serutko Damie, who led Muyanje cell, was denied entry because he was a Tutsi. On April 11, 1994, Burgomestre Hategekimana Deogracias took a policeman named Gatitiba Thomas on a commune motorcycle to Ramba. They ordered Tutsi refugees to go to Karama. Many refugees arrived that day, including many who were wounded. Father Ngomirakiza Francois took the critically injured to the University Hospital in Butare. At the same time, he was seeking help to assist many refugees in Karama. From April 14th to 16th, 1994, Tutsi houses were set on fire in all areas around Karama and started on the same day in Nyarusanje, Mukongoro, Kibingo, Buhoro, Bunazi, Warugondo. All refugees gathered at Karama Church, in classes, at the market, had come from Gikongoro and Butare communes of Runyinya, Rwamiko, Mubuga, Kinyamakara, Huye in Muyogoro, Maraba, Mudasomwa, Nyakizu, Rusenge, and Kivu. They were all counted and classified according to their sectors of origin. On April 16, 1994, Nyandagara was the first Tutsi in Karama to be killed. He perished at a bar in Kibingo. On April 18, 1994, the burgomestre and the police took a treasurer of a cooperative called Kopiaru to show them the keys to the safe and immediately killed him. The killers cut water pipes and poured pesticides into the Agatenga River to kill the refugees by poison and thirst. Burgomestre Hategekimana Deo brought gendarmes who are Karama natives, including Twagirumukiza Charles. They brought bullets and guns. The burgomestre slaughtered a cow for them and lied to the Tutsi refugees that gendarmes had come to protect them. On April 20th, 1994, Gendarmes led by Rwasamanzi and Chimasa, who worked in a parade project, went to Bunazi to kill using grenades Tutsis who had taken refuge there. Survivors came and joined others in Karama. That night, Father Ngomirakiza told refugees that there was no refuge at the parish. Those who tried to flee were pushed back at Rugondo's roadblock by stones from militiamen who were stoning them. On April 21, 1994, Interahamwe carrying clubs and machetes entered the refugee camp. Around 9 a.m., the Interahamwe militia wearing dried banana leaves surrounded the camp and began killing Tutsi refugees. They took the children who had survived the massacres and put them together. They made porridge for them and poisoned it. After drinking the porridge, all the children died. Karama is the final resting place for over 70,000 victims of the genocide against the Tutsi. Gashinji is a hill located in Gasharu village, Nyamirembe Cell, Karama sector, Kamonyi district. In the past, it was in Kayenzi commune, which Mbarubuke Jean governed. On April 19, 1994, Tutsis fled to the hill from Nyabikenye, Rutabo, Musasa, Tabo communes and elsewhere. They were attacked on April 19, 1994, by a militia from their communes. The Tutsis defended themselves using stones and defeated them. The attackers decided to cut down banana plantation and the forests in that area. Thus, there was no more hiding place for Tutsis. On April 21, 1994, a major attack comprising of soldiers, police, and civilians, led by Buyumbu, took place. Buyumbu had also led the Bibari attacks. To exterminate Tutsis, they first used grenades, guns, and Interahamwe used other weapons including machetes, small hoes, sharp sticks, axes, spears, and many more. The killings started in the early morning and ended in the afternoon. Survivors and others found in their homes were taken at Nyabarongo. Others were convened and taken to Nyamirembe sector ground called C&D. Kyakabiri is in Kigarama Cell, Kyeza sector, Muhanga district. This is a well-known place in the area due to the heavy roadblocks at which about 100 Tutsis were killed. The roadblock was set up on April 14, 1994, as the massacres in Rutabo started on April 13th, but most people were killed at the roadblock on April 21, 1994. Tutsis had been killed at this roadblock both before and after the date of the 21st and continued to be murdered there until the RPF stopped the killings in the area. Those killed were thrown in the nearby pit called C&D after being brutally slaughtered, tortured with traditional weapons, wooden clubs with nails called Ntamhungano y'umwanzi, sickles, sharp sticks, machetes, and others. Generally, Tutsis in that area were heartlessly killed, their body parts cut off, slowly and gradually killed. In the same area, Tutsis were poisoned. The killers took the traditional pesticide, diluted it in bottles, and made Tutsis drink it, saying they would love it since they loved milk. The perpetrators of the massacres included former Minister of Youth and Association, Nzabonimana Calixte, who was at the forefront of Rutabo massacres. He was using his combi car on which he mounted speakers and mobilized people while going to his home in Nyakabanda commune, urging Hutus that their enemy is the Tutsi. Nzabonimana also brought many machetes in his car, distributed them to the crowds on the road. He also had grenades that he gave to only selected few people whom he knew how to use them. There were also others like Seromba Bartazar, who was the MDR secretary at the communal level, Muvuzamhama, MDR vice president, Marabanyi, Aidini, Dusabe, Kamayana, Harindikije, and others. After the genocide, the bodies were exhumed from Kyakabiri pit and buried in Kayumbu Memorial, which includes 428 bodies from Rutabo. The memorial is built in Kayumbu sector of Kamonyi district. Mare is currently located in Tumba sector of former Huye commune. As the genocide got underway in the area, all the people joined forces and went to Myogoro to avert the killers from Nyaruguru. On April 20th, 1994, Burgomestre Rumesha Jonathan, who governed Huye commune, held a meeting for militia only after expelling the Tutsi. On April 21, 1994, militia started setting on fire Tutsi homes, followed by killings of hundreds of Tutsis. Militia are looting and destroying Tutsi houses. Soldiers, gendarmes, and civilians joined in the massacres of Tutsis. They went to the top of the hill of Nganza-Gihendo and started shooting on Tutsis wherever they were gathered. Those killed were from Musanje, Mhare, Vumbi, Gishamvu, and Nyaruguru. more than 11,000 Tutsis perished. On the forefront of the planning and perpetrating the genocide are Burgumestre Ruremesha Jonathan and MP Banyangiriki Zakari. He held a meeting in Kabuga to incite Hutus to kill Tutsis, where he openly said, "The enemy we are fighting is a Tutsi, wherever he is." The killers involved were Hanindinwari Theogene, who went to Butare town to fetch fuel to burn Tutsi homes. He got it from Ntawari Maurice, Buyenje Charles, who was the councillor of Musanje sector, Nzabahimana Vianney, who was the councillor of Mhare sector, Hangimana Chrysostom, who fled to Zambia, Bungurubwenge Augustin, who escaped from prison and fled to South Africa, Mondi Mazuru, who was a driver in the agricultural project DGB and later fled to Malawi, and others. Gishubi sector during the genocide was led by Councillor Ugira Shebuja Francois, who led the killings in collaboration with his colleagues, the Councillor of Nyaranzi sector bordering Gishubi. Genocide preparatory meetings were held in Gabiro at the home of Innocent Mukurarinda, the accountant of Chibai commune. Renowned killers who killed Tutsis in Gishubi area are Ugira Shebuja Francois, Councillor of Gishubi sector, Mukurarinda Innocent, who later fled to Uganda, Ubarijoro Gaspard, a police officer who shot many Tutsis, Nkurikinka Viateur, who was also known as MDR, Nabavukira Jerome, Matene of Rubayi, Yoboka Anastase, Munyagandwi Anastase, Ndekezi Augustin, Nyandwi François, Rwamakuba, Bugirifura Vincent, Semichacha, Kabandana Jean Bosco, Nyirishema Xavier, Ugaragaye Emmanuel, Shirambere François alias Nyabarongo, Mwumvaneza Alexandre, a teacher, Ngonyerezi Vianney, Niyongira Bonaventure, a police officer, Mbazgwirikeba Cassien, who was also a soldier, Ruzindana, son of Zirubanje, who fled to South Africa, Rugira Emmanuel, who was sentenced to life imprisonment but escaped from prison and fled to Europe, Havugimana Anatole, who was a student at the university but died a few years after the genocide, Rutebuka Alexandre, who was a youth mobilizer at Muganza commune, Mnyangan Venus, who pleaded guilty to genocide crimes, Burundians from the family of Mushatsi, who shot many Tutsis using bows. Among them there was Karuhije, Machumi, Sechimonyo, Muhitira, and Ndururute. Shortly after the tragic history, they returned to Burundi. On April 20th, 1994, the militia spent the whole night burning down Tutsi houses and started killings on April 21st, 1994. Tutsis killed in Gishubi were residents and others who had fled to the area from Ndora, Musha, and Gikongoro. They were slaughtered in thousands on Thursday, April 21st, 1994. Some of them, the wounded, were finished off on Friday, April 22nd, 1994. Afterwards, the killings continued in Musha on Saturday, April 23rd, 1994, and then in Kabuye. More than 2,000 Tutsis were killed in Gishubi sector and the surrounding areas. At each road junction, roadblocks were erected. At the sector's office, there were 2 roadblocks set up at the Gabiro Center, at Busave, at Gafita, at Gatare, at Muskwa, at Zanwe, on the road to Kigozi, and Mbonwa at Bitare. Gishubi is exceptional because no Tutsis survived the killings. One of those who were found breathing in the piles of lifeless bodies was hunted down within the sector bordering Gishubi until he was identified and killed. The lone survivor is the one who managed to flee outside the sector and go somewhere far. Massacres of Tutsis in Mugusa commune, Gisagara. The genocide planning meetings were held at Iga building, chaired by local MRND president Murambi Augustin. It was attended by Kanyabikari Telesfor, Ngango Viateur, Mukasangwa Alice, Sekamana Jean-Marie Vianney, Muzigirwa François, Muhozi Bernard, and others. Massacres of many Tutsis took place at Musha Business Center, at Chai Sector, Murama, and Musha Health Center. At the forefront of the killings were Kabaiza André, the Burgumestre of Mugusa Commune, Ngango Viateur, the Councillor of Musha Sector, Murambi Augustin, the Inspector of Primary Schools, Kanyabikari Telesfor, the Director of Primary School. There were also police officers including Gasasira, Panueri, and Emmanuel Sanzimana. There was also Sibomana Inyas, who led the attacks, and Habyarimana Stanislas, who controlled the roadblocks at Musha Center. On April 19, 1994, Theodore Sindikubwabo, who was the president of the so-called Abatabazi government, convened a meeting in the conference hall of Butare Prefecture. Prefecture authorities at different administrative levels were invited and given instruction to start the killings. They were instructed to kill all Tutsis and that anyone who opposed the killings or tried to save Tutsis would be killed as well. The meeting started with an announcement removing Dr. Jean-Baptiste Habyarimana, who was a Tutsi, who was at the helm of Butare Prefecture, replacing him by Nsabimana Sylvain. On April 20th, 1994, the new prefect immediately called a meeting for all burgomestres. All sector leaders had meetings with cell leaders on the same agenda. In all these meetings, no Tutsi could attend, even if he was a part of their leadership. In Butare town, many Tutsis were killed on the prefecture headquarters, at Butare Hospital, CHUB, the University Hospital of Butare, at the military school ISO, in the Arbertum forest within the Rwanda National University, at the university itself, in Sorgwar, a matchbox factory, at Yave Butare, at Groupe Scolaire Officiel de Butare, in the forest around Karayes Butare, in the museum forest, at Ngoma Catholic Parish, at Matiazo Health Center, at Tyargwa, a place called Gateme, and at various roadblocks that were set up at Fokon, at Mukoni, in front of Dr. Sindikubwabo Theodori's house, in front of Ntahobari Maurice's house, and Pauline Nyiramasuko's home, at Bihira Juvenal's building, at the upper side of the National Museum, in Rwabuye, etc. Tutsis who had fled to the Groupe Scolaire Officiel de Butare started being killed on April 21, 1994. They were slaughtered by Interahamwe militia together with government soldiers. On the same day, those who were at the National University of Rwanda were also killed. Several Hutu lecturers and professors helped the killers to identify their Tutsi colleagues. The former were actively participating in killings on various roadblocks, namely at Mukoni and at Rugira Amande's building, now known as Shesebukangaga. Tutsis who are still alive were being rounded up at the prefectural headquarters, at the Anglican Church, at the Butare Hospital, CHUB. At the hospital, a tent had been mounted in front of the dermatology and pediatrics department. Tutsis were being killed during the night, and at around 9 a.m., a truck would come to collect corpses to be disposed of in a mass grave. Those who had fled to prefecture headquarters on April 19, 1994, were killed, women being raped, and every night a car would come to pick those men to be killed. The killings were supervised by Arsène Shalom Ntahobari, Nyiramasuko Paulina, Joseph Kanyabashi, Jumapili, and Sengiyumva. The massacres were led by Prefet Nsabimana, gendarmes, and soldiers. Nyiramasuko went to the Anglican Church, known as EAR, and ordered all the refugees who were there in the church to come out. Using a megaphone, she was calling on the Hutu community and other residents to cut the bushes and remove dirt from the Butare town. All the Tutsi refugees then sought refuge at the prefecture headquarters. Local authorities brought buses to take all the refugees on the Burgomestre Kanyabashi's orders. They were being taken to a place called Nyange, but the killers who were escorting the buses started killing them near Kibirizi. The few who survived were brought back at the prefecture headquarters. Later, the authorities came to clean the city and took the few Tutsis who had survived to Ruhango, where they lived in harsh conditions until RPF soldiers arrived and rescued them in early July. On April 30th, 1994, Tutsis who had fled to Ngoma Parish were killed. Those leading the killings in Butare town included Burgomestre Kanyabashi Joseph, Munyagasheke Isaac, and his son Desire Munyaneza, Ntahobari Arsène Shalom, Nyiramasuko Paulina, Ntiruhanwe Jean, Kayibanda Jules Nkiko, Joseph Nzabirinda alias Biroto, Remera Simeon, Semwaga Felix, Karabaranga Isaïe, Murangwa Innocent, Emmanuel Setakwe, Jacques Habimana, who was the Ngoma sector councillor, and many others. There were also soldiers and Burundian refugees. The following are the places in Butare town where many Tutsis were killed on April 21, 1994. At Butare Prefecture headquarters, Tutsis from various places had gathered there, those from Kigali, Nyaruguru, Gikongoro, Butare, Karama, and other places. Tutsis suffered hunger and were deprived of water. Women were raped. Cars were coming to pick those men to be killed. Later, buses took several Tutsis to be killed at Nyange in Kibirizi and Gateme in Kyargwa, at the University Teaching Hospital of Butare, CHUB. In addition to Tutsi patients and their family members who were attending to them, doctors and nurses. Several other Tutsi refugees, including some who were seriously wounded, were all mercilessly slaughtered. The refugees were grouped in a tent, while the rest were gathered in the dermatology department, theater, and in front of the hospital mortuary. Every morning at around 9 a.m., a blue Daihatsu truck would come to collect the corpses. The seriously wounded were suffering without assistance. Groups of dozens and more were being taken to the military school ISO and the IRST forest. Others were being taken to the prefecture headquarters. They would all end up killed by Interahamwe working with government soldiers and Burundian refugees who were in town. At EAR Butare, Tutsis were killed by hunger and thirst. No one was there to give them anything. Nyiramasuko came and spoke through a loudspeaker and called on killers to clean the church surroundings. They pulled Tutsis from their hiding and beat them all the way to the prefecture headquarters, then packed them in cars and went to kill them in places far away. Most of them who were taken to Nyange in Kibirizi were killed there. At the Arboretum forest of the National University of Rwanda, the university was surrounded by heavy roadblocks. One was at the front gate near Sebukangaga's building, another at Mukoni. Several Tutsis were killed at the university, in the Arboretum forest, and at the roadblocks. They included Tutsi students, teachers or lecturers, university staff, and Tutsi refugees. A special operation was conducted to find out all Tutsis who were hiding in the Arboretum forest. The killers made one big line and moved step by step to ensure that everyone in hiding was captured and killed. At EAV Kabutare, EAV students and those who were brought there from Groupe Scolaire de Salle, Byumba, were killed on orders of school director Theophile Mbarushimana, Asantu Gitera Joseph Habyarimana, the founder of Aprosoma and the brain behind the famous 10 Hutu Commandments in 1959. The school erected a genocide memorial in memory of all who were killed at its vicinity. At former ISO, now IPRC South, during the genocide, government soldiers who were injured from the war were brought there and joined others. Throngs of Tutsis were brought there and killed by the soldiers. Women were being raped before knowing a terrible death. At Ruhango, Tutsis started arriving on Sunday 17th April 1994 in the afternoon. They were coming from Maraba commune. On the following day, all those from the hills of Ruhango Parish came to seek refuge at the parish. They were living in the workshop area and in schools. Many others had fled to Jihindamuyaga Monastery and were camped in what they called Camp de Jeunes. Others had fled to Sovu at the health center of the Benedict Sisters. Tutsis who had taken refuge at Ruhango Parish were massacred on April 21, 1994, in the morning from around 8 a.m. The killers were led by Rekeraho Emmanuel, who also led other attacks that killed Tutsis in the communes of Maraba, Mbazi, Huye, and Ruhashya. Several Tutsis who were from the former Nyaruhengeri commune were ordered by Burgomestre Kabeza Charles to flee to the commune headquarters, where they were killed in the night of April 21, 1994. Victims were tortured while women were raped. They were asked to dig graves in which they would be thrown after getting killed. Others were thrown in toilets alive. Sector councillors were using loudspeakers to tell residents that peace had been restored to ensure that Tutsis come out of their hiding. Those who were buying their tricks were being immediately killed. Dogs were being used to sniff and hunt down the Tutsis still hiding in the bushes. There were roadblocks at different strategic locations. Kugiti Mukiza, there was a roadblock led by a female called Jacqueline, a sister to Gapiri. At Bashingwa, there was a roadblock manned by ladies including Mukamugunga Felicite, Musanganire, Furaha, and Dusabe. At a place called Mumbeho, there was a roadblock led by Karambizi Alphonse. At Nyaruhengeri sector, there was a roadblock led by Ruchahana Nikodemu. The leading killers included Kabeza Charles, who was the burgomestre of Nyaruhengeri commune, Mujarugamba Pascal, who was the commune's brigadier, Ruberabahizi Venuste, the commune's veterinary, Nsabomukiza Foste, councillor of Kibirizi sector, Hakizayezu Augustin, Sematama Gaspar, who had come from Kansi to kill at Kibirizi, Kavamahanga Charles, Musonera Bartazar, Habyarimana Noel, Munyashaka Francois, etc. Thank you for listening to another episode of Kwibuka Podcast. As always, make sure you leave us a review, sharing what you like about the podcast, and share with others who would be interested in listening.